Hi, I'm Chris Burns from Techie Gurus, and welcome back to the channel. So I want to have a little bit of fun today with cybersecurity. Well, it's fun for me. It may not be fun for you, but bear with me. I want to talk about vulnerabilities. So I've talked a little bit about it. The Exchange hack from about a month ago, SolarWinds from the beginning of the year, actually late last year to the beginning of this year, they all involve vulnerabilities. So what is a vulnerability? Well, a vulnerability is a weakness that can be exploited by a cyber threat actor, and they usually use it to gain access to your network or to perform some sort of unauthorized action on a computer system. So that could be installing something so that they can maintain remote access, something along those lines. So a lot of times what a zero-day vulnerability is, it's something that hasn't been publicly disclosed yet that a threat actor, a hacker, is using to do something. Again, going back to what a vulnerability is, to gain access to your network to run something. If it's publicly disclosed, there's actually a database that we use. It's called Common Vulnerabilities and Exposures, and it's a list of all the publicly disclosed vulnerabilities. Now, each vulnerability is then scored. So that's the Common Vulnerability Scoring System. It goes from 0 to 10, 10 being the highest. So when we get something that's in like a 9.8 range, that really means that it's usually unauthenticated, which means they don't have to have username, password, or anything to exploit it, and that they can run something. So it's remote code execution. So what does that mean? That means that, take example, Exchange, they could put a web shell on there because they could run code, and then they can actually get into your network and then run additional code as well. So that's what a vulnerability is. That's how we keep track of them, and that's how we also look at them. So what that means on, let's say, your network, regardless of how big you are, every piece of software that you run is going to have a vulnerability at some point. Your job, or if you have an IT company, their job is to make sure that those are patched, that they're scanned for, they're patched, things like that. Traditional IT doesn't do that. That's where you start getting into more cybersecurity and leveraging some of those tools where we can make sure that we're scanning for those vulnerabilities and that we're making sure that we take care of them as we see them. Now, 0 days, there's no protection against those. If those are exploited, we have to wait for that kind of, we have to wait for it to be able to be detected, and then a patch to come out from the vendor. So let's start with that, and then let's go into like what's happening right now. So a few days ago, actually April 13th, so that would have been 2 days ago, as of shooting, the Department of Justice and the FBI announced that they actually went out and they accessed Exchange servers that were still vulnerable to the vulnerabilities that were released in March, and actually started removing the web shells. So they got court orders to enter your network if you had it exposed and do a change to your network. And I don't really like this because their answer was, well, we're going to let them know. I'm like, cool, okay, well, that's cool. How are you going to notify them? Well, if you have a publicly disclosed email address, they're going to send you an email from fbi.gov. And if you don't, they're just going to contact your internet service provider and say, hey, you should probably tell them this. Okay, we all know that ISPs are not going to contact you. AT&T and Comcast and whatnot are not going to reach out and contact you. So what they did is they removed the web shell that hackers could get in with, but they didn't do anything else. One of the ways that hackers did this is they would put the web shell on there so they could tunnel into your network, but then they were going to put other footholds on your network so that they could keep getting in. The FBI didn't fix that. They also didn't patch your Exchange server, so the vulnerability still exists. And the worst part about this is you may never know. If you don't have a publicly disclosed email address that they can email, or if your ISP just never contacts you, you may not know, and you might just leave that open. So something that we've done is we started calling some of these companies that we've noticed that are still exposed. And quite frankly, we haven't had a lot of luck with it. You know, people think that we're trying to trick them into like giving them access to the network, but we're not even leading with that. We're just trying to let them know that, look, you have this vulnerability. This is something that's very serious, and you need to take care of it. So if somebody calls you like that, you know, obviously do your due diligence and like look at it and stuff like that. But like, if a company is actually picking up the phone and calling you, which I wish the FBI would do, I wish the FBI would actually pick up the phone and call you. And I know it's easy to spoof phone numbers, and I get that, but at least let somebody know, and then maybe then fax them or email them a copy of like the actual court order. So that's where we're at today. They're still doing it. I'm not really a big fan of this, but you know, it is what it is. So just to recap, the FBI could have been in your Exchange server actually working on it and fixing it, and you may not know. So one of the other things that came out in the last week was Pwn to Own. So Pwn to Own is a competition that this year was in Austin, Texas, and cybersecurity researchers go in there as teams, and they try to earn cash prizes. And they do that by exploiting vulnerabilities. Most of them are unknown vulnerabilities. So the top prize this year was if you could do remote code execution on like a server or a messaging system. So a server being Exchange server, Windows server, or a messaging system like Teams or Zoom, you could earn $200,000 as a team. So all in all, they gave away a little over $1.2 million. There's more categories, but I don't want to talk about those right now. So, which is kind of cool because that means the vendors then get those exploits and they can patch them, so they can keep us all safe. So as we go along, we patch them. It keeps us safe. Well, here's the top three. They actually did remote code execution on Zoom, which means it actually affected PC and Mac. So a threat actor could actually send you something and execute on your computer anything they wanted. Microsoft Teams is also involved with that, and Microsoft Exchange Server again. And to go a little bit further on Exchange Server, the NSA also found four vulnerabilities in the last month that they let Microsoft know that were patched on Tuesday. So again, this is probably going to get worse with Exchange, and I hate going back to it, but if you're running Exchange on site, you really need to really rethink why you're doing that. And if you're not taking care of it, find somebody. Like if you don't have the staff to do it, you need to find somebody to do it, or just migrate to something like Office 365 where that part is handled for you. So I hope you kind of enjoyed this. Comment down below. I'll actually post below the link to the Department of Justice announcement about the FBI going in. It's kind of interesting read. So go ahead and read that. But until next time, be safe. If you have any questions or anything like that, you can reach out to us. You can hit us up on Twitter, Facebook. We're actually on Instagram too if you want to follow us. We post some funny stuff on there. Comment down below on YouTube. We're also on LinkedIn. So reach out to us. We're here to help. We love helping small businesses, medium businesses. Our goal is to help 100 companies by the end of the year. We're a little bit behind on our goal. COVID's kind of put a damper on that, but we're here to help. So if you have any questions, let me know, and I'll see you next time.